India-Bangladesh Maitree Diwas 2021 to celebrate the historic friendship between India and Bangladesh in London. A big hand, ladies and gentlemen. Let's make some noise. This is an evening to celebrate. Ladies and gentlemen, 50 years ago, the independence of Bangladesh was declared in the early hours of 26th March 1971 by the undisputed leader of Bengali freedom struggle, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, father of the nation of Bangladesh. Moments before his arrest, Sheikh Mujib directed his people to embark on an armed liberation struggle to free the soil of Bangladesh from the last of the occupation forces from Pakistan. On the dark night of 25th March 1971, the occupation forces committed a barbaric massacre of innocent Bengalis, genocide, war crimes, sexual violence, the atrocities that continued for the next 9 months, forcing 10 million Bengalis to take refuge in neighboring India. Throughout the 9 months of liberation war of 1971, the great nation of India resolutely remained the most reliable and trusted friend and stood next by the side of the Bengali people. Apart from military assistance, Indian armed forces fought shoulder to shoulder with independent Bangladesh armed forces and Mukti Bahini. Indian government also extended all-out humanitarian, political and diplomatic support on global platforms, including in the United Kingdom for recognition of independent Bangladesh and release of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman from Pakistan prison. On the historic 6 December 1971, India accorded diplomatic recognition to independent Bangladesh after Bhutan, immediately following which Bangladesh and India launched an allied armed attack against Pakistan occupation forces, resulting in a documented surrender by the occupation forces on 16th December 1971. And thus began the epic friendship between the two great nations and Bangladesh, two great nations of India and Bangladesh, bound by shared values, history, culture, language, and philosophy. A big hand for that. On the 26th March 2021, during the state visit of the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji, to Bangladesh to celebrate the Golden Jubilee of Bangladesh, the two visionary leaders and Prime Ministers of India and Bangladesh, His Excellency Shri Narendra Modi ji and Her Excellency Sheikh Hasina ji, decided to jointly celebrate the 50th anniversary of India-Bangladesh diplomatic relations and celebrate 6th December as Maitree Diwas of Friendship Day. So happy Friendship Day to each of you. Hence today, together we celebrate here in London, one of the most significant geopolitical centers. And with us have joined our British friends, British Indian diaspora and vibrant British Bangladeshi. And we warmly acknowledge your historic role in providing moral, political, humanitarian and diplomatic support towards the great Bangladesh Liberation War of 1971. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome each of you with all my warmth and love to this historic, joyous evening. We begin our evening's program with a short documentary highlighting India-Bangladesh friendship. Do enjoy.
India was divided into two countries, India and Pakistan, in 1947. The two parts of Pakistan was about 1,600 kilometers distant physically. One part was called West Pakistan and one part was called the East Pakistan. which is present-day Bangladesh. It shares history and culture for millennia with India. From onset, East Pakistan was deprived of its fair share in all areas of statehood, particularly in economic, political, bureaucratic and social sectors by the rulers of the state of Pakistan, most of whom came from West Pakistan. The first major movement was for the rights of the Bengali language, the mother tongue of the people of East Pakistan. At the height of the movement, on 21st February 1952, many were martyred. Since then, the day has been observed as the Martyrs' Day in Bangladesh. Other countries, particularly India, has also been observing this day. Moreover, it has been observed as the International Mother Language Day from 1999. Bangabandhu declared independence in the early hour of 26 March 1971. Following the long political struggles.
রক্ত যখন দিয়েছি রক্ত আরো দেব এই দেশের মানুষকে মুক্ত করে ছাড়ব ইনশাআল্লাহ এবারে সংগ্রাম আমাদের মুক্তির সংগ্রাম এবারে সংগ্রাম স্বাধীনতার সংগ্রাম
The language movement, the 6-point charter, the 1969 mass uprising were among them. The Pakistan military began the genocide in the country to nip the aspiration for freedom of Bangladesh. As called upon by Bangabandhu, people from all walks of life jumped into the war of liberation. Nearly 10 million people took refuge in India. In addition to extending all kinds of humanitarian support to the Bangladeshi refugees by the people and the government of India, the Indian forces directly joined the Mukti Bahini from December 1971. And helped Bangladesh achieve its victory on 16th December 1971. In the war, as many as 3 million people embraced martyrdom, and 200,000 women were abused by the occupation military of Pakistan. More than 1,000 Indian military personnel shed their lives for the independence of Bangladesh. The Pakistani military surrendered to the joint command of Allied forces comprising of Mukti Bahini and Indian military on 16th December 1971. Before the final victory, Bhutan and India formally recognized Bangladesh as an independent and sovereign nation on 6th December 1971. To commemorate the Indian recognition, the governments of Bangladesh and India decided to observe 6th December as Maitree Diwas in March 2021. Bangabandhu was arrested by Pakistani military at the beginning of the war. They were forced to release him on 8th January 1972. On his way back home, Bangabandhu was accorded a historic reception in the Indian capital of New Delhi on 10th of January.
আপনাদের প্রধানমন্ত্রী আপনাদের সরকার আপনাদের সৈনিক বাহিনী সৈন্যবাহিনী আপনাদের জনসাধারণ যে সাহায্য এবং সহানুভূতি আমার দুঃখী মানুষকে দেখিয়েছে চিরদিন বাংলার মানুষ তা ভুলতে পারবে না ব্যক্তিগতভাবে আপনারা জানেন আমি পশ্চিম পাকিস্তানের অন্ধকার ছেলের মধ্যে বন্দী ছিলাম দুদিন আগেও। শ্রীমতী গান্ধী আমার জন্য দুনিয়ার এমন জায়গা নাই যেখানে চেষ্টা করেন নাই আমাকে রক্ষা করার জন্য। আমি ব্যক্তিগতভাবে তার কাছে কৃতজ্ঞ। আমার ৬-৭ কোটি মানুষ ব্যক্তিগতভাবে তার কাছে এবং তার সরকারের কাছে কৃতজ্ঞ।
Upon arrival in the motherland, Bangabandhu began to rebuild the war-ravaged country. In a short period of time, Bangabandhu gave the nation one of the most progressive constitutions in the world. Democracy and secularism were embraced as state principles. In the pre-dawn hours of 15th August 1975, the noblest and greatest of Bengalis, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, along with Bangamata Fazilatun-Nessa Mujib, their 3 sons and many kin, were assassinated by a handful of ambitious and treacherous military officers in an attempt to stop the progress of Bangabandhu's dream, Bangladesh, Golden Bengal or Sonar Bangla. Bangabandhu's eldest daughter Sheikh Hasina came to power in 1996 and set the course of the nation to the right direction. In the same year, the historic Ganges water sharing agreement was signed between Bangladesh and India. Moreover, the two countries reached many other agreements, consolidating the bond of Bangladesh-India friendship. The architectural patterns of both Bangladesh and India are still held atop in the uniformity as a common legacy of history and heritage. Bangladesh treasures quite a good number of architectural remains starting from 6th century BCE. A unique ensemble could be proudly traced, reflected in the diverse opulence of various religious and cultural abodes and facades. The bonding of social, economic and cultural affinity between Bangladesh and India is rooted deep in antiquity. In the lineage of common pursuits, each year the Bengali New Year celebration assumes a unique allure of our cultural affinity. A historic protocol was penned in September 2011 for amicable solution of the long unresolved border issue, and to the tune of that understanding, the land border issue was resolved in 2015 by Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina of Bangladesh and Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India. Likewise, through commissioning of the Maitree Express train, the Bangladesh-India railway connectivity was reassumed. The connectivity between the two countries was expanded to several road and waterways as well. A new chapter of Bangladesh-India friendship began with the opening of Bangladesh House in Shantiniketan in 2018, inaugurated jointly by Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The Maitree Setu was inaugurated on the Feni River between the Sabrum Ramgarh Upazila of Bangladesh and the Indian state of Tripura. India conferred upon Bangabandhu the Gandhi Peace Award in 2020 as part of the historic celebrations of the birth centenary of the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and the Golden Jubilee of Independence. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi handed over the award to Sheikh Rehana, the youngest daughter of Bangabandhu, in presence of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. The two Prime Ministers jointly inaugurated the Bangabandhu Bapuji Digital Expo.
সব সময় সুখে দুঃখে বাংলাদেশের পাশে আছে আমি ভারতের প্রধানমন্ত্রী নরেন্দ্র মোদি তার সরকার এবং ভারতের জনগণের প্রতি আন্তরিক ধন্যবাদ জানাচ্ছি জাতির পিতা শেখ মুজিবের জন্মশতবার্ষিকী বাংলাদেশের স্বাধীনতার সুবর্ণ জয়ন্তী এবং বাংলাদেশ ভারতে কূটনৈতিক সম্পর্কের 50 বছর উপলক্ষে উভয় দেশ বেশ কিছু যৌথ কর্মসূচি পালন করার সিদ্ধান্ত নিয়েছে এছাড়া এই উপমহাদেশের দুই বরণীয় নেতা বঙ্গবন্ধু শেখ মুজিব এবং মহাত্মা গান্ধীকে নিয়ে ভারত সরকার বঙ্গবন্ধু এবং বাপু ডিজিটাল প্রদর্শনীর উদ্যোগ নিয়েছে আমি এজন্য ভারতের মাননীয় প্রধানমন্ত্রীকে আন্তরিক ধন্যবাদ জানাই
Visiting the mausoleum complex, Prime Minister Modi paid tribute to Bangabandhu. The two Prime Ministers also unveiled two commemorative postal stamps to mark the Mujib Year and the Golden Jubilee of Independence of Bangladesh. Bangladesh and India decided to jointly organize different programs on Maitree Diwas on 6th of December 2021 in 18 countries. At 50, Bangladesh is recognized as a role model of development in the world. The country is marching ahead under the dynamic leadership of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to realize Bangabandhu's dream of Sonar Bangla, an inclusive and prosperous nation.
Distinguished guests, now we're going to have the national anthems of both India and Bangladesh, which will be performed by a choir of Bangladeshi British children. They are adorable. Mohana, Swayam, Shubhangi, Riti, Anfal, and Shreyashi. From a Bengali music school, Suraloi, directed by eminent Bangladeshi British vocalist and music teacher Miss Gauri Chaudhary. May I also request Her Excellency Gayatri Isar Kumar, High Commissioner of India to the United Kingdom, and Her Excellency Saida Muna Tasneem, High Commissioner of Bangladesh to the United Kingdom, to join us on the stage for the national anthems of both India and Bangladesh. We humbly request our distinguished guests to stand up for the two national anthems. Thank you.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा সোনার বাংলা আমি তোমায় ভালোবাসি আমার সোনার বাংলা আমি তোমায় ভালোবাসি
Absolutely spellbinding. Such a Ladies and gentlemen, I request you to kindly stand up once again and observe 1 minute of silence to pay homage to all martyrs of the Bangladesh Liberation War of 1971 from both Bangladesh and India, who made supreme sacrifice. So, may their souls rest in eternal peace. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for paying homage to the valiant martyrs. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now request Her Excellency Gayatri Isar Kumar, High Commissioner of India in the United Kingdom, to kindly give her welcome remarks.
Honorable Mr. Oliver Dowden, Chair of the Conservative Party of the United Kingdom, Excellencies, Honorable members of the Parliament of the United Kingdom, esteemed colleagues from the Diplomatic Corps who have joined us this evening, and dear, cherished friends of India and Bangladesh. On behalf of the High Commissions of Bangladesh and India, I extend a most cordial welcome to you all. We are delighted to be celebrating today, together and with you, the unique friendship between our two nations, Bangladesh and India, flourishing democracies, united by our shared history and common heritage, and connected, not separated, by our 4,000-kilometer-long common border, and joined by very close people-to-people daily ties. Those who know India and Bangladesh understand that ours is more than a strategic partnership in many ways, in which we jointly pursue our shared aspirations and create unique models of regional cooperation. This year is particularly special as we commemorate 50 years of our brotherly ties. 50 years ago, a very dark chapter in the history of our region was ended in the month of December 1971. A series of compelling circumstances had unfolded in India's neighborhood, which could not be ignored. The facts were that there had been an election in the previous year, in December 1970, in which Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's Awami League had won most seats in the National Assembly, and one of the key priorities of the League was to have Bengali recognized as a national language in addition to Urdu. As Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, Bangabandhu, as he is known with reverence and love, as he was refused a handover of power despite his landslide victory, Bangabandhu sought autonomy for his people and then outright independence. He was arrested, and as Bengali citizens took to the streets, there was unspeakable cruelty and 3 million people were killed. There was a public outcry in India, and about 10 million fled the unspeakable atrocities, and they were received with open arms by their Indian brothers. Our leaders convinced the world of the need to act decisively to stop crimes against humanity, and a liberation war was fought by Bangabandhu's Mukti Bahini, with Indian forces supporting them shoulder to shoulder. And that is why it was very appropriate that we remembered those martyrs, those heroes, with a moment's silence. But the people of Bangladesh remember them every single day. On December 6, 1971, the government of India extended diplomatic recognition to Bangladesh. It was a watershed moment that electrified populations on both sides. I was a young girl then, and I was only just very glad that the war was over. 50 years on today, the development partnership that India and Bangladesh share is one of the most comprehensive that India has with any country. India rejoices in the impressive progress in all sectors of Bangladesh's economy. Our bilateral projects worth about close to $10 billion are currently in various stages of implementation. The historic settlement of the maritime boundary in 2014, the land boundary in 2015, and before that, the 1996 Ganges Water Treaty are major milestones in our political relations. Today, multiple railway lines carry passengers and cargo between India, Bangladesh, and other South Asian countries, including Nepal and Bhutan. And our rivers are fast emerging as busy arteries of trade and passenger movement connecting our entire region. We are committed, both our countries, to greater sub-regional cooperation in connectivity, power, construction of petroleum and gas pipelines, and electricity transmission lines. And while our geographical proximity is delivering its dividends in multiple ways, our composite culture and respect for pluralism have enabled us to take a united stand against fundamentalism and extremism. Similarly, our defense and security partnership is close and strong. We refer to the current stage of bilateral relations as Shonali Adhyay, a golden chapter in the relationship between two close neighbors. And we both remain committed to jointly promote the values that we hold most dear: secularism, pluralism, and democracy. Earlier this year, during the state visit of Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji to Bangladesh in March, he and Honorable Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Honorable Sheikh Hasina, decided to commemorate this day jointly every year as Maitree Diwas through our missions around the world. And that is why today Indian and Bangladeshi missions around the world are celebrating Maitree Diwas. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, our brilliant lineup will be announced, but I would just like to acknowledge our very special guest, the one and only Madam Runa Laila, a most popular playback singer of the subcontinent. She has, in fact, played a role as SAARC ambassador and is highly decorated with prestigious awards. We are delighted that she's with us. I also would like to thank India's star TV personality, guide in mindfulness, actor and singer of Indian pop, Sufi and spiritual songs. I know she won't thank herself, Miss Rageshwari Lumba, for being our most gracious compere today. I request you to enthusiastically welcome them. I once again thank the eminent personalities from all walks of life who've graced this evening. And most important of all, I would like to say what a pleasure it has been working with the most amazing Saida Munaji, High Commissioner of Bangladesh, and her brilliant team. A big round of applause. We have worked together, prepared for this evening in the most sisterly way possible between two High Commissioners, and I really cherish this opportunity for this reason also. So with these words, I once again thank you all and like you to invite you to join me in saying, long live India-Bangladesh friendship. Long live India-Bangladesh friendship. Jai Hind, Jai Bangla.
Thank you. wonderful inspirational speech on India-Bangladesh Maitree. I now have the pleasure to invite Her Excellency Saida Munat Tasneemji, High Commissioner of Bangladesh to the United Kingdom and Ireland, to kindly give her welcome remarks.
Assalamu alaikum, good evening, Shushagotamo, Namaste. Honourable Oliver Dowden, now that I see you've joined us, Chair of the Conservative Party of UK, Professor Dr. Gahar Rizvi, Honourable International Affairs Advisor to the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Honourable Members of Parliament, I see Lord Billy Moria, Lord Gardia, Lord Dean Gotson, and Bob Blackman MP, and some other dignitaries who are sitting at the table, and our very, very distinguished British Bangladesh and British Indian diaspora who's decorated this room today, and of course, our very, very celebrated Miss Runa Lailaji and Miss Nageshwari ji. Thank you so much for keeping our request and joining us for this evening, truly, truly celebrating the India-Bangladesh or Bangladesh-India friendship, the spirit and letter. It is such a great honor for me to join my very distinguished and dear colleague, who's like a breath of spring air for me every time I see her. Very, very capable. She's finished 4 years jobs in 16 months. She's been here for only 16 months and finished 4 years jobs. She's a very dynamic High Commissioner of India. Her Excellency Gayatri Issa Kumarji, High Commissioner of India to the UK, in welcoming our friends of Bangladesh and India. And the first ever Bangladesh-India Maitree Diwas, celebrating 50 years of the historic friendship between India and Bangladesh, South Asia's exemplary good neighbors. We are grateful to our chief guest, Right Honourable Oliver Dowden MP, Chair of the Conservative Party, and our guest of honour, Professor Dr. Gahar Rizvi, Honourable International Relations Affairs Advisor to our Prime Minister of Bangladesh, for their gracious presence this evening. We're equally thankful to the British peers and MPs, friends of India and Bangladesh, as well as our distinguished diaspora from the Indian and Bangladeshi communities for joining this momentous occasion. My colleagues at the High Commission of Bangladesh are proud to have worked hand in hand with our dear colleagues from the Indian High Commission in the UK in organizing this commemorative event, despite COVID challenges, and I thank them all for their hard work and sincere efforts. Dear friends, 2021 is a remarkable year for Bangladesh as we celebrate the birth centenary of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, undisputed leader of Bengali nationalism and the architect of Bangladesh's independence. We also celebrate this year Golden Jubilee of Bangladesh's independence and Victory Day of Bangladesh War of Liberation of 1971. It is no coincidence that this year today, on 6 December 2021, Bangladesh also celebrates 50 years of our diplomatic relations with India, a country and a nation that occupy a very, very special place in our hearts and our minds of the people of Bangladesh. On this historic day, during the Bangladesh War of Liberation in 1971, India was one of the first countries to recognize Bangladesh as an independent and sovereign state. India was the only country that opened its borders and provided shelter to 10 million Bengali refugees fleeing genocide and mass atrocities afflicted by the Pakistan occupation forces in 1971. India was the only country that gave political and diplomatic space to Bangladesh's Mujibnagar government in exile and waged a diplomatic campaign in favor of recognition of Bangladesh during a war of liberation. Over 18,000 gallant Indian armed forces fought shoulder to shoulder with their blood and sweat with Bangladesh's valiant freedom fighters and secured surrender of the Pakistan occupation forces to the Bangladesh-India Allied Command on 16 December 1971. India's leadership, especially Srimati Indira Gandhi's diplomatic leadership, played a crucial role in protecting Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman during his imprisonment in Pakistan. During his historic homecoming stopover in New Delhi on 10 January 1972, in a speech at Delhi airport, Bangabandhu said, and I quote, "The people of Bangladesh will never forget the help and sympathy that your Prime Minister, your government, your army, and your common people have shown to my distressed people. There is no place in the world where Srimati Indira Gandhi has not sought help from to save my life. I am personally grateful to her. My 7.5 crore people are personally grateful to her and our government." Unquote. On this solemn occasion, I pay my deepest homage to our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and Srimati Indira Gandhiji, former Prime Minister of India, who laid the foundation of a profound Bangladesh-India friendship based on civilizational linkages and shared values. I also pay my homage to 3 million martyrs and valiant freedom fighters of Bangladesh and 1661 Indian martyred soldiers who made supreme sacrifices and laid down their lives for making Bangladesh liberated. I pay homage to more than 200,000 Bengali women who were sexually violated in 1971. And I also pay my deep respect to the President of India, former President of India, Bharat Ratna Shri Pranab Mukherjee ji, a great friend of Bangladesh, who also campaigned globally for the recognition of independence of India. Ladies and gentlemen, the relationship between Bangladesh and India is anchored in our two nations' shared history, heritage, geographic proximity, culture, language, and our South Asian civilizational values of secularism, democracy, social justice, and progressive aspirations of mankind. As we celebrate 50 years of our Maitree of friendship, I want to pay my profound gratitude and special tribute to our two visionary leaders, Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji, who have taken our time-tested Bangladesh-India friendship to unprecedented heights in their letter and spirit. An era being marked, as Gayatri just mentioned, as golden chapter or Sonali Odhai in Indo-Bangladesh friendship. During the historic Mujib Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji accorded the prestigious Gandhi Peace Prize 2020 to Bangabandhu. In recognition of outstanding contribution to Bangladesh's liberation war, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has dedicated the Independence Award to the late Prime Minister of India, Srimati Indira Gandhiji. The Friends of Bangladesh Liberation War honor to 225 Indian citizens, including the Liberation War Award to former President Shri Pranab Mukherjee and former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji. Over the past decade, the world witnessed exemplary feats of mutual trust, respect, confidence, and seamless connectivity in Bangladesh-India relations, seen by political pundits as a role model of good neighborliness and regional peace, prosperity, and security. In 2015, Prime Minister Modi's initiatives resolved the long-pending ratification of 1974 Land Boundary Agreement. In 2017, in a historic move, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina accorded transit and transshipment to India to enhance our shared prosperity. The Park Road in Delhi was renamed as Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujib Road. In 2018, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina inaugurated Bangladesh Bhavan at Bishwa Bharati Shantiniketan. This year, the two Prime Ministers inaugurated the Maitree Bridge over the Feni River connecting northeastern India to Bangladesh. And of course, our Honorable President of India would be visiting Bangladesh on this 16th of December to celebrate 50th anniversary of our friendship and our victory. This is just to name a few milestones of our Maitree. Excellencies, this morning, in a video message in the Indian Council of World Affairs on Maitree Diwas, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has said, and I quote, "Our partnership is not confined to treaties, MOUs, and bilateral agreements. Today, our broad partnership has matured and is based on sovereignty, equality, trust, and mutual respect. Together, the two countries and two peoples would continue to turn their vision and ideals into the realities for decades to come." As we celebrate the first Bangladesh-India Maitree Diwas in the UK, may I take this opportunity to express my humble gratitude to the British government and people for the unique moral, political, diplomatic, and humanitarian support extended during Bangladesh War of Liberation, and the hero's welcome accorded to Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman at the number 10 on 8 January 1972 by Prime Minister Edward Heath. And of course, the friendship extended by many British politicians, including Sir Harold Wilson during our War of Liberation. May I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, by reaffirming my faith in Bangladesh-India Maitree. Of course, these Maitree is always going to be inspired by the messages of peace, amity, ahimsa, and humanity propagated by our two fathers of the nation, the Mahatma Gandhiji and the Bangabandhu. May Bangladesh, India, Maitree live forever. Joy Hok Bangladesh, Bharat Maitree. Joy Bangla, Jai Hind.
Thank you. Thank you, dear Excellency, for your insightful speech, especially highlighting Bangladesh's special friendship with India. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for the sisterhood, our two wonderful High Commissioners. Thank you so much. Truly inspirational. Distinguished guests, may I have the pleasure of inviting His Excellency, the Right Honourable Oliver Dowden, CBE MP, Chair of the Conservative Party UK, to kindly deliver his remarks.
Thank you very much, and good evening, Your Excellencies, my Lords, Members of Parliament. I'm delighted to join you here this evening to mark Maitree Diwas. And I'd like to begin by thanking Your Excellencies. Isn't it wonderful that these two nations, your two nations, India and Bangladesh, are so well represented by two wonderful female High Commissioners. It is a tribute to your nations and an honour to our nation to have you representing your nations here in the United Kingdom. So thank you, Your Excellencies. And thank you for inviting me to join you on this historic occasion as we mark the Golden Jubilee of the enduring friendship between the two nations of India and Bangladesh. And let me first begin by paying tribute to those who gave their lives for Bangladeshi independence. The Bangladeshis who fought for a brighter future to secure a free, more prosperous Bangladesh. And in doing so, they created a lasting bond between your two nations, one rooted not only in diplomatic relations, but one also rooted, of course, in geographical proximity, but also in that shared history, a history bound by that common heritage, those deep social, cultural, and economic ties, and a shared passion, of course, for music, literature, and the arts. And through this friendship, India and Bangladesh are really a model of what two nations can achieve by establishing those shared institutions to promote economic growth and enterprise, to invest in connectivity and the future, and to champion education and culture. And I really would like to take this opportunity to say a very big thank you to each and every one of you who is sat in this room from the very front to the very back, to each one of you for the invaluable contribution that each one of you has made to the Indian and Bangladeshi communities that have strengthened our nation, for the thousands of jobs that all of you have created, for the billions that you invest in the United Kingdom, and those countless hours and contributions that you give day in, day out to charities and communities across the United Kingdom. Thank you. And as chairman of the Conservative Party, I want to thank everyone, the countless numbers again in the Indian and Bangladeshi communities who represent our party, whether that's as local councillors, as activists on the doorstep, or even, may I say, my esteemed colleagues now around our cabinet table. Thank you for your contributions. And your values are our values, the shared values of family, hard work, business, and enterprise. Our common shared belief in sacrificing the needs of today for the interests of future generations. I salute those values, those Bangladeshi values, those Indian values, those British values, those conservative values. And next year, we will celebrate two very historic landmarks, 50 years that mark two moments in the history of our three nations. First of all, the welcome given to Bangabandhu in number 10 by a Conservative Prime Minister, and the welcome given to the Ugandan Asian community by the same Conservative Prime Minister more than half a century ago. And this is something that's actually, ladies and gentlemen, something that's very personal to me in two respects. First of all, and I don't think I've said this before, but the very first job that I had was working in a warehouse, and that was run by Raksha Shah, who was a member of the British Ugandan Indian community. And actually, my mother, for many, many, many years, worked in a pharmacy in St Albans, Springfield Pharmacy, and that was run by Jane Peck Brambat, who were also British, Asian, Ugandan members of our community. So it's something that has been dear to my own heart throughout my entire life. And just looking around this room, I see so many people that embody that same spirit. Now, you're going to... I hesitate to call out individuals, other than to say, on the table immediately in front of me, there are distinguished parliamentarians who are all committed to the values of our three nations. But also, I say this when I look around our cabinet table. Isn't it wonderful when we look around our cabinet table? We have our Home Secretary, Priti Patel, cracking down on crime. We have our Chancellor and my dear friend Rishi Sunak, who's driving our economic recovery. And of course, who can forget Alok Sharma, the saviour of COP? Three incredible politicians who are driving our nation forward, and I'd like to pay tribute to the huge contributions they have made to our national life. So let me finish by saying to all of you an enormous thank you for all that you have done and all that you continue to do to contribute to the success not just of your two nations, but of our nation. And I wish you every success with Maitree Diwas. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honourable Oliver Dalvin MP, for your wonderful speech. A big round of applause, friends. We're celebrating each of you. Ladies and gentlemen, I now have the pleasure of inviting His Excellency Lord Tariq Ahmed of Wimbledon, the Minister for South Asia of the Government of UK, a great friend of India and Bangladesh, to kindly give his remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, he will join us through a video. He will join us through a video message, my dear friends. Let's have a look.
Distinguished guests, Assalamu alaikum and namaste. It's an honor to be with you today to celebrate 50 years of the friendship between Bangladesh and India. Firstly, I must thank my dear friends, the High Commissioners of both countries, Mona and Maitree, for inviting me to speak today, and for the formidable energy they bring to strengthening the partnerships between our nations. Some of you may have heard me speak on the 26th of March about the important role the UK played in Bangladesh's story of independence. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's trip to the United Kingdom following his release from prison in 1972 laid the foundations for the strong UK-Bangladesh partnership we enjoy today and the deep friendships between our citizens. Shortly afterwards, on the 4th of February 1972, the UK was amongst the first of many countries to recognise an independent Bangladesh. India, of course, played a pivotal and central role. And speaking in Bangladesh earlier this year, Prime Minister Modi honoured the courage and leadership of Indian soldiers who sacrificed their lives so that Bangladesh could gain independence. As we take a moment to remember and honour the lives of those who died in the War of Liberation, we also honour them by celebrating the progress that has been made built on their sacrifices. Bangladesh has made extraordinary strides over the past 50 years, from bringing more than 50 million people out of extreme poverty since 1990, to the giant leaps forward for life expectancy and infant mortality, to building the dynamic economy that is one of the fastest growing across the world. The United Kingdom is proud to have stood alongside Bangladesh in support of all these achievements. Our bilateral relationship also with our Indian friends goes from strength to strength as we deliver upon the India-UK roadmap to 2030. We are cooperating on a diverse range of priorities that are of mutual benefit, from science and technology, health, energy and climate change, as well as, importantly, deepening our trade ties. And there is huge potential to achieve so much more together. All our three countries have been friends and partners for decades. The story of our modern partnerships is underpinned by the bonds of family, friendship, community and culture. Bonds that bind the incredible dynamism of the 600,000 strong British Bangladeshi and 1.6 million strong British Indian communities to the heart of 21st century Britain. But bonds that also act as an important bridge with the 21st century India and Bangladesh. With our common interests, shared values and indeed ambitions, and our cultural, trade and personal links, our countries are natural allies on the world stage as we wrestle with the great challenges of our time. Bangladesh and India are also a powerful magnet for our Indo-Pacific tilt, which is in recognition of the region's importance to our economy, security, and our shared values. As we celebrate your 50th Friendship Day, Bangladesh's 50th anniversary, and look forward to next year with India's 75th anniversary and 50 years of the diplomatic relations between the UK and Bangladesh, I look forward to working with you as our countries scale even greater heights together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Lord Tariq Ahmed. My dear friends, it is my honour to invite His Excellency Professor Dr. Gauhar Rizvi, International Relation Affairs Advisor to the Prime Minister of Bangladesh. Dr. Rizvi, an Oxon from the 70s, and a MacArthur Fellow from the University of Oxford, taught in the USA at Harvard and in the UK at Oxford. Lived and worked in India as the head of Ford Foundation, South Asia, and is currently advising the Prime Minister of Bangladesh on international affairs. Ladies and gentlemen, what an honor presenting Professor Dr. Gauhar Rizvi.
Thank you so much. Thank you. The High Commissioner of India and Bangladesh, ladies and gentlemen, as on these occasions, one is expected to say something erudite and long. I have been given a long speech prepared by our ministry, but having heard the High Commissioner of India and then my very dear friend, the High Commissioner of Bangladesh here, if I try to read that, I'd be repeating much of what you have so brilliantly covered. So I'm going to skip my speech. I'll make a very, very short comment. I have been allowed 5 minutes. I'll stick to that 5 minutes, except to recall a couple of things which many in this room may have forgotten or may not know. As I look around, possibly more than half of who are in this room will have not been born in 1971, and the other half who were born will have been very, very young. So that is why I thought I will recall few things. You know, I'm a historian. There are few examples in history of people of one country, the soldiers of one country, giving their lives for the freedom of another country. This is a very unique thing that happened in 1971, and for that reason, we in Bangladesh can never forget when our founding father, Bangladesh Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, on his way back from prison in Pakistan, after 10 months of prison in Pakistan, when he came to India, he stopped in India before he came to Bangladesh, And within 3 weeks of landing in Dhaka, he went back to Calcutta. In Delhi, he said that Indian government and Indian people are the best friends of Bangladesh, and we can never thank them enough. And 2 weeks later, he went to Calcutta, now Kolkata, and there he quoted from Rabindranath Tagore, said, "Look, I have come empty-handed. I cannot give you anything but love, and lots of love." And that love endures even today and will continue to endure forever. I also want on this occasion to remember Srimati Indira Gandhi. At that time, Mr. Vajpayee was a member of parliament. He had given the title of Durga to Indira Gandhi. And I think that was the most apt title for a lady of that courage, that stature, that imagination, and that statesmanship. Many of you may not know that in 1970s and before and since, there was a general international consensus that national boundaries of states must not be touched. So anybody trying to separate or create a new state, no country in the world would come to their assistance. And it was also then believed and genuinely held that repression, violation of human rights, genocide is an internal matter. Other countries must not interfere. That is why I recall Indira Gandhi. She stood up for what was considered to be right, and she made 3 promises. One, she opened up her country. She opened up her borders, and 10 million refugees from Bangladesh fled from the genocide and atrocities unleashed by the Pakistan army then. And to them she said, "You will stay here, we will look after you, we will care for you, and you will only go back when your home is free." That was her first promise she made. She made a second promise that the Bangladesh government in exile will stay here, freedom fighters will train here, we will assist you in any way we can, and we will continue to help you until your country is free. So this was, and she kept her second promise. Third, which nobody, including myself, was very nervous because we had no hope that Bangabandhu would be able to come back from prison in Pakistan alive. She had made a promise that we will bring Sheikh Mujib back to Bangladesh safely. To Indira Gandhi, I bow my head, I thank her, and through her, thank the people and government of India for the promises she made and the promises she kept. That friendship, I will not repeat. Both Mona and Gayatri have spoken so eloquently about the current state of our relationship. I won't say anymore. But once you get the microphone, there is always a temptation to brag. But it is not said in the spirit of bragging. Many countries did not believe in 1971 Bangladesh was a viable state. I won't quote, those quotes are well known to you, of the bottomless basket. It is for that reason I just want to remind today, and it is not to remind, but to thank those who had faith in Bangladesh, who helped Bangladesh. UK was one amongst them, who supported Bangladesh and kept faith after its creation to bring Bangladesh where it is today. Today, we are an exemplar of a developing society. We have surpassed our Millennium Development Goals. We are well on our way to achieve our Compact of 2030. And we have graduated from less developed country to a middle income country. And I can tell you the way our country is moving with the help of all our friends, we will also achieve our next target of 2042 of becoming a developed economy. Well, I won't go on saying any more, except to say thank you to all of you, to our friends in India, and it is such a pleasure to see so many of you in the room, in many cases after years, but also to express my heartfelt gratitude for jointly celebrating Maitree Diwas, not only in London, Dhaka and Delhi, but in another 18 countries, India and Bangladesh is saying. So I thank you all, and I thank our non-resident Bangladeshis who played a very important role in 1971 and who are continuing to play that role today. With those words, thank you, madam, thank you, everybody. Joy Bangla, Jai Hind.
Thank you, dear Professor Rizvi. Thank you so much. Our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is none other than the famous Honorable Lord Swaraj Paul, who has been a veteran supporter and champion of the India-Bangladesh friendship and has played an important role in the 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War. We request Lord Swaraj Paul to kindly speak from his table. Please be at ease, sir. I request that the microphone be on the table of the Honorable Lord, please.
Distinguished guests, the two most beautiful High Commissioners from the subcontinent, it was only their command that I decided to come. Otherwise, for an old man like me, it's difficult to be late evenings. It is all for you youngsters who can do it. And most probably, I may not be able to last the whole journey, so you will excuse me in advance. Looking at the whole room, perhaps I am the only one who was alive in the period of that turmoil. One day, I got a call from the Prime Minister Indira Gandhi's office. His private secretary said, Swarajji, Prime Minister wants to talk to you. When that kind of a call comes, do you think you'll be in Tihar jail or Calcutta jail? Because that is where I lived for a long time. So she said, Swaraj, this is happening. They said, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, I have been spending a lot of time talking to him, and we got to save Bangladesh from the treachery. At that time, even the British didn't support. And that was very sad, that a country whom we all believed that spokesman for the freedom of the world didn't support that. Mr. President of the party, I come from a family which was fought for Indian freedom. At the time when Mahatma Gandhi launched his Quit India movement and formed the Indian League, which my friends Virender Sharma only celebrated last Tuesday. My parents gave me the name Suraj. Suraj means freedom. My older brother was in jail as a guest of the British government. All he got was a free meal, and that too rationed. In 1947, when we got the freedom, we remember Pandit Nehru. He said that from today, we are friends with British. Lord Mountbatten, who became friendly with me, I don't know why. He called me, he said, Suraj, do you think this Nehru means anything? I said, Lord Mountbatten, everybody in the country thinks you are having an affair with a sister. So what do you mean by this? And for my British friends, I tell you even a more funny story. I thought there are going to say a lot of deep speeches. Let me have you a little relaxation and laugh. When in 780, just before he died, 78, Mrs. Gandhi came after serving a jail term by the opposition government. So I went to see him. I said, Lord Mountbatten, she was like a daughter. Nehru was your friend. Of course, don't tell me, Nehru reciprocated, Mr. Lord Mountbatten. And because Nehru had an affair with his wife, according to the Indian press. So we Indians are not unequal. I have been a Labour Party member, but when Mrs. Gandhi came here in '83 after winning the election, she offered me a ministership in her government, which I refused. But she told Margaret Thatcher that, Margaret, if you want to convey me anything, tell Suraj. You don't have to even go through the High Commissioner. John Major made me a peer. Tony Blair asked me to be a minister in his government, but I said, Tony, I don't like free meals. Sorry, with due respect. Robin Cook and Gordon Brown made me a deputy speaker and ambassador for British business, and also made me a privy councillor. So life has been very good. George Osborne I liked, and David Cameron I hated. The whole country is paying a very high price for it at the moment. I don't read one day this thing, first Financial Times, first page, where David Cameron, along with Sanjeev Gupta, haven't made £1 million. But it is a great country. I am glad I am its citizen, though the BBC was doing an interview with me, and the viewer asked, he said, Lord Paul, what percentage you are British and what percentage you are Indian? I told him, I said, I am 100% British and I am 100% Indian, and if you can't make out, that's your fault. No, I'm just. But coming back to BCC, Mrs. Gandhi told me, says, Raj, I have told General Arora, you are in Calcutta, to keep in touch with him. So every day when this section was there, made sure that we consulted in the morning and in the evening in the Red Fort in Calcutta. So I'm partly Bengali. This morning I was telling Mamata Banerjee, the Chief Minister of Bengal, she says, she calls me Dada, which all the Bengalis know. She says, Sraj, you must go to Bengal, Bangladesh. They are lovely people. And I know that Bengalis are lovely people because I lived in Calcutta. I was looking for good-looking girls. I went to Loreto College, which is a very famous college. I said, I watched out who is the best-looking girl. I found one. I asked her, would you marry me? She says, ask my mother. I say, I'm not marrying your mother. And we got married in 3 days. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry to waste so much of your time. I'm really grateful. High Commissioners, a gift we have given to this country is all 3 High Commissioners, including the Sri Lankan, are women and the best looking ones. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sincere thanks to our Honorable Lord Swaraj Paul for that very entertaining speech. Dear Excellencies, I have the honor to now invite Lord Jitesh Gadia ji, the very respected British Indian investment banker and businessman in the UK and honorable member of the House of Lords, to deliver his remarks.
Thank you, Mike.
Almost don't need one.
Thank you, Rageshwari. Your Excellencies, my parliamentary colleagues, distinguished guests, friends, I'm truly delighted to have the opportunity to participate in this unique Maitree Diwas, or Friendship Day, between India and Bangladesh. In fact, I couldn't think of anything more emblematic of friendship than the sight of 2 of the most dynamic High Commissioners I know, Gayatri ji and Saida Muni ji, hosting us this evening. The fact that both countries have posted such high-powered female diplomats in the UK speaks volumes in itself. On behalf of everyone here, I thank them both for their warm hospitality. The very concept of marking exactly 50 years to the day on which India recognized the existence of Bangladesh is not only a highly poignant moment, but to do so right here in the UK carries even more resonance. As the 2 largest Commonwealth nations with significant diaspora communities resident in this country, the triangle between India, Bangladesh, and the UK is rich in both history and shared ambition. Some of the previous speakers have already highlighted the role played by India and the UK in Bangladesh's liberation and the inspiring sacrifices made in 1971. So I won't repeat those. But I would like to make 2 other points. Firstly, my personal experiences of Sheikh Hasina, the Prime Minister of Bangladesh. I first had the honor of meeting her in 2019 during the World Economic Forum Summit in Delhi when she was visiting with her cabinet as a guest of the government of India. At that time, I was struck not only by the impressive progress which Bangladesh has made over the past 50 years, but also the sheer scale of ambition. Under Sheikh Hasina's premiership, Bangladesh, much like India, has emerged as one of the fastest growing economies in the world and plays a pivotal role within South Asia and across the Indo-Pacific region. I was therefore delighted to co-host a parliamentary reception for Sheikh Hasina only last month when she was visiting the UK for the COP26 summit. Sheikh Hasina's leadership of the Climate Vulnerable Forum of 48 nations was a crucial voice during COP26, given the existential threats which each of these countries face from global warming. According to the IMF, 1/3 of the population of Bangladesh is at risk of displacement because of rising sea levels. In response, Bangladesh has been one of the most active countries in driving adaptation, even though it accounts for less than 0.5% of global emissions. And in that respect, shares similar features to India. My second point naturally flows on from this. As with so many other initiatives emanating from Prime Minister Modi, this Maitree Diwas has a noble mission, but also a strategic purpose. The special axis between Bangladesh and India is not only one of friendship, but it is also an axis of regional security and stability, of fighting climate change, and of building shared prosperity. It is an axis in which the UK has a huge vested interest. For the UK, both India and Bangladesh are important strategic partners, underpinned by the growing influence of the British Indian and British Bangladeshi diaspora communities, who are making such a powerful mark across all walks of British life. I also see this contribution through the work of the British Asian Trust, a foundation established by His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales, which is a proud partner in the inclusive development of both India and Bangladesh, connecting our respective diasporas. In so many ways, the triangle of India, Bangladesh, and the UK is a natural global partnership. Yes, with a common history, but an even more powerful shared future. So as we celebrate this multifaceted friendship, let us keep at the top of our minds all the hallmarks of a true friendship: honesty, trust, empathy, loyalty, kindness, respect, encouragement, and generosity. Based on these virtues, I'm confident that this friendship will flourish for many years and decades to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lord Guardian. Ladies and gentlemen, I now request the Honourable Lord Dean Godson, Director of leading British think tank, the Policy Exchange, to kindly give his remarks. Presenting the Honourable Lord Dean Godson. Big hand, ladies and gentlemen.
Your Excellencies, my Lords, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished parliamentary colleagues, particular privilege to be here tonight just to pay tribute and to acknowledge the legacy of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and his immortal formulation with friendship towards all and malice towards none. And I think tonight, in respect not least of our distinguished speakers here tonight, but also particularly of the two High Commissioners, is a personification and illustration of that principle. It's a particular privilege to be here and to be able to observe the continuing impression, profound legacy, the profound historical consciousness of the events of 1971 to 1972. I had the privilege recently of reading a book by a man I met many years ago, a man called Archer Blood, whom many of you will remember was the US Consul General in Dhaka pre-independence. And he wrote a book called The Cruel Birth of Bangladesh, and the most extraordinary independent witness statement of the sufferings of the people then of Bangladesh, and a man who did dissent cables to his government back in Washington, which diverged dramatically from the Nixon-Kissinger realpolitik line of the time, but which has stood the test of time extremely well. And I think that's significant as we think of the different circumstances then of the Cold War and of now the very different circumstances which we find ourselves in. And thinking of the lessons of those days, the events of 71, 72 were an early illustration of the issues, what we would now perhaps in certain quarters call the right to protect and the necessity of humanitarian intervention. We are, as I say, in a very different context now. We have moved from beyond the Cold War, from between the two ideological blocs. And it is in this era of greater international competition between great powers that the UK finds itself emerging from 43 years membership of the European Union. The UK finds itself emerging, re-emerging into the Indo-Pacific world, region with which it has such close contacts. And to be able to implement that through the integrated review put forward by this government, which places such a purchase not merely upon relations between Bangladesh and India, but the whole region as well, and which also fits in so elegantly with the themes that have come forward of the 5 memoranda of understanding between the 2 prime ministers of Bangladesh and of India, focusing on AI, on big data, on tech, in health, and in education. And it's the forward-looking dimensions of that, as well as looking past what we share, what we have in common, and what we can do together in future, I think, is the great importance of all this. This continuity of relations amidst all of these changes, the continuity in very different governments, in the UK, very different government, in India, and in Bangladesh as well, and in very different circumstances. And it is that thread of friendship which continues to inspire and which I know continues to enjoy the attention of many parliamentary colleagues, many of whom are here today, and that is an essential part of our way going forward. Thank you, Excellencies. Thank you, my lords, ladies and gentlemen, and look forward to hearing much more about this relationship in the years to come.
Thank you so much, Honourable Lord Godson. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now request the Honourable Lord Karan Bilimoria, Vice Chair of the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Bangladesh and the Distinguished President of the Confederation of British Industry and Chancellor of the Birmingham University, to kindly say a few words on Bangladesh-India Maitree.
This time, exactly 50 years ago, I was a young boy in Hyderabad, at school over there, living with my grandparents, when my late father, General Bilimoria, at that time a lieutenant colonel, commanding his battalion, the 2nd 5th Gurkha Rifles Frontier Force, was commanding his troops in Bangladesh, fighting for the liberation. They captured Pirganj, they captured Bogra, and they went all the way to Dhaka. And you know, as a boy, I remember waiting for the newspapers every day, seeing the number of Indian officers and soldiers sadly killed and praying that my father's name would not be there. My father came home, thankfully, but sadly, many of his officers and men did not. They made the ultimate sacrifice. That sacrifice made by him, his troops, gave freedom to Bangladesh, and we celebrate that freedom today. And you know, that regiment of my fathers, this is serendipity. It's amazing how serendipity works. This year, there is an international competition of special forces, including the SAS and the Navy SEALs from around the world. And who won that competition this year? The 5th Gurkha Rifles Frontier Force. But I will never forget, as a young boy, what my father told me when he came back. He didn't speak much about the war. He didn't speak much about the horrors that he saw and experienced. But he did speak very clearly, and it left a mark on me for the rest of my life, about the bravery that he saw of the Mukti Bahini. Many of them were just boys, teenagers, and he said, I have never seen bravery like that in my life. So it was a combination of the bravery of the Bangladeshi people and the bravery of the Indian Armed Forces that won this freedom. Now, how life works, that I came here as a student, I studied, I finished my studies, and I had this idea to start a beer brand called Cobra Beer. And who do I work with? Who is my base? Who is my foundation? Who do I have to thank more than anyone else? Are the thousands and thousands of Bangladeshi restaurants in this country. And I thank you, and I thank you. And from the day I first went in my battered car to try and sell my beer, you inspired me. You inspired me, why? Because Bangladeshi restaurateurs are pioneering entrepreneurs who've gone as complete strangers to every corner of this country, every village, every town, not knowing anyone, winning friends, winning customers, most importantly, putting back into their local communities. That has inspired me. And in this pandemic, when the restaurants have been shut, when our businesses have been destroyed, even in that time, these restaurateurs have opened up their kitchens and voluntarily, unprompted, nobody told them, prepared hundreds of meals and taken them to their local hospitals for their doctors and their nurses and the staff. So I salute you, and I thank these pioneering entrepreneurs. Today, the country of Bangladesh, nearly 170 million strong. Today, this country, which 50 years ago was in such a state, has built itself up into one of the fastest growing economies in the world, taken tens of millions of people out of poverty. This is what this great country has done. Today, it is a manufacturing powerhouse. Today, it is not only one of the fastest growing economies in the world, it is also an IT powerhouse. And India, 5th largest economy in the world, a global, emerging, economic superpower, soon to be one of the top 3 economies in the world. So what are we celebrating today? We're celebrating freedom and we're celebrating democracy. And when Sheikh Mujibur Rahman said, he said, it is not possible to build a golden Bengal without golden people. And that's what it's all about, people. And when he went to Calcutta, and when he spoke in that Maidan, and there were millions and millions of people there, and he shouted, "Joy Bangla," and the crowd shouted, "Joy Bangla." And those, the 2 million now, over 2 million Indian and Bangladeshi people, the diaspora in this country, look at us. This country would not be the 6th largest economy in the world without the contribution of this community here. And I say, thank you to Britain for giving us this opportunity. You're a wonderful country, and we thank you too. So, long live Bangladesh, long live India. And my wife is South African. She's now an honorary Indian, of course, as well. And there's a wonderful African saying that if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And India and Bangladesh, from 50 years ago, we have gone far together, and we're going to go very, very far together in the future. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lord Memorial. Truly inspirational. On that note, golden people, each of you, pure gold, are you ready for some music? Are you ready to make some noise? The highlight of the show is soon to take place. We're going to take a 5-minute break so that we're going to clear the stage, get it set, so that we can all enjoy and truly celebrate. So get set to make loads of noise, or we're just clearing up the stage for you. Thank you.